Race 1 was one of the greatest season openers we have ever seen. In Bahrain, it was Cameron Dowds winning ahead of Drake Dempsey and Kul Pawlakovic. Round 2 was also very competitive, with Kamil Komoń returning to league racing and Tony Richer winning by like half a second ahead of Drake, and then Kamil Komoń as well. Now we're having round 3, and personally I'm wondering if there will be the third winner of a race this season. That we will see within this hour when we have Ero Pc F1 Spanish Grand Prix, which has seen quite a lot of drama over the history of Ero, and plenty of very happy moments as well, considering Ciubyk and Czukfuma's only Ero PS F1 win back in Season 5, that is. My name is Wojciech Śmigowski, I am the Ero Pc F1 commentator of these races, and also the owner of the entire league. Anyway, as we'll be going onto the track within seconds, I have very interesting news to say about, because what we are going to see is actually mind-blowing, considering such a sunny space that Spain is, as we are near Barcelona, exactly in Montmeló to race in Circuit de Catalunya. Well, you'll see that within a second. As you can see, as soon as it fixes, yep, it's raining all the way around Spain. And I'm not kidding you. It actually is true. It's raining. And as so, we're going to watch the Spanish Grand Prix qualifying in the Ero Pc F1, where it's actually a heavy rain. Even though the drivers are still on inters, I think these might be also wet conditions, like for the full wet tires. But we'll see about that within the next drivers, with the next drivers who will come out on track. First, we've got Lucas McGuinty, who's probably the first driver to go on a outlap, and that is actually right. The PCF2 reserve, the PCF2 driver in Red Bull winning in Spain yet again. Even though the attendance rate of PCF2 was a complete farce, if I'm completely honest. Well, at least he keeps winning, and that's fine for him. Then, next up, we've got the other reserves. Marko Dordevic in the Aston Martin. We also got Furkan Imchas in the McLaren. As there's only 70 drivers on the grid today, but only 17 as there will be number 18 of Marvin Moore, who will join during the qualifying session. As we already have a first spinner in the outlaps. That's one of the Red Bulls, I believe. That could be Luke Mills. No, that is Hugo Nilsson. But we'll go with McGuinty at the moment, as the Alpine driver has already shown some decent pace. Well, he's not showing it right here, as he's gone into the gravel. And now Luke Mills is the first one to make a lap. Then we've got the Ferrari of Jonathan Foss and then Tony Richer, the championship leader, also the champion of Season 8, is about to start his lap, winning the race in Japan after starting third. Now he's going for first run in qualifying. The championship fight between him, Drake Dempsey, and even though he doesn't race today, Cameron Dowds, is actually going to be really interesting. And I hope there will be no as many controversies as it happened in PSF1 last season, as Tony Richer has to lift a little bit through turn 3 in order to stay on track. 24.0 appears as a purple sector 1, but I don't believe that personally. We know how beautiful this game can be, with showing purple sector basically to everyone. As we're going through turns 7 and 8, that is one of the most famous chicanes in Ero, considering last season, for example. As we're approaching turn 9, which is basically a 6th gear, barely braking. You could have gone without even lifting off throughout the corner in the previous Formula 1 games. Now you have to lift off a little bit, especially in the inter tires. Of course, I'm considering the dry conditions, as Luke Mills is the first one to make a lap. That's 26.9. Jonathan Foss makes 0.8 more on his lap, and Drake Dempsey comes up with another 0.2 of a second, placing himself on provisional pole position. Tony Richer through the final couple of corners, the chicane that is going to be removed probably, not for sure, but probably in 2023 Formula 1 race. He's 2 tenths up on Drake Dempsey, placing himself on provisional pole, exactly 2 tenths of a second, that is. More and more drivers are coming across the line, as for example Lutynski stays in the pit lane, probably hoping to start last in the Grand Prix. Arjan Lubas with this 4th, then Ferry Wagner 5th. Next up to cross the line is the other AlphaTauri driver, Hugo Cabello, Tony Ritchie's teammate. Currently very unlucky with his races, with no points and DNF. Ninth at the moment, 27.6. As Ryan Grob is on his way to finish lap as well. Behind him, Hugo Nilsson and Furkan just relatively close to each other for a qualifying hot lap. Ryan Grob slides through the final corner, as you can see, and about to cross the line, he goes for a lap time of 26.2. You can see how close this is now. Even if it's into tires, the gap between 3rd and 5th is like 1/10. And a little bit. Hugo Nilsson probably going for one more run. I believe there will be more drivers going for more than one lap at a time, as Arjen Bilbas is spun on turns 7 and 8. Ryan is unfortunately out of the session, but I believe he will join back within seconds. His championship situation is really good indeed, with 2 points finishes, 5th and 4th in the first 2 races. His race pace overall is pretty impressive, to be honest. Maybe not as great, maybe great qualifying pace isn't as great, but he covers it up with race pace. A couple of these places, currently 7th as Diogo Moraes goes 4th with 26.0 on his lap time. Drake Dempsey has improved himself by 1.5 tenths of a second. I believe he's going for one more lap. But I don't think he's deploying any ERS, so I don't think so, to be completely honest. Tony Ritchie, yet another run. As you can see, sliding around a little bit. Drake Dempsey currently in the sector 3, probably preparing himself for one more run or going to the pit lane. As Tony Ritchie has to go past one of the Ferraris, that would be Jonathan Voss. The only 2 drivers without lap time, Lutynski and McGinty, are back on the track. Actually, Lutynski is for the first time on the track. Diogo Moraes goes with a 25.2. So are the weather conditions improving, or this is just the linear grip levels going better and better every single minute? We don't know. Cannot really check the weather conditions just yet. But it looks like the rain has got lighter, to say the least. Tony Ritchie for the final couple of corners, probably with a slight improvement of his lap time. Going for a 25.2, that is. 4 milliseconds behind Diogo Moraes only, so you can see how close this qualifying session is. Drake Dempsey fighting with the car through sector 1 and 2. Currently 2 tenths up on his lap, showing of course it's purple. As he's currently on good course to secure his 3rd place. You have to watch out for this yellow sausage curb on the inside, on the right side of the track. In order not to touch them, otherwise some bad things may happen, as Drake Dempsey currently half a second up on his lap time. He might be going for pole position, at least provisionally around here. Weather conditions are definitely improving, I believe. It was raining way harder at the start of the session than it is now. The final couple of corners, hitting very carefully all of these curbs. Drake Dempsey through the chicane. Last corner from the American driver, currently 2nd at the championship standings. Probably will go for 24th? No, he will not, but 25.1 will place him on provisional pole position. Let's see where Diogo Moraes is, probably starting a new lap. How about Tony Ritchie, who's trying to recover his ERS. And he's done a decent amount of 70%, so it might be enough for this hot lap. As Ryan Grob still struggles to get the car in place and go back onto the racing again. Furkan Imchaz, the PCF2 reserve, 1:27.1. Of course, the better lap time is doable. We'll see about that from the Malaysian driver. For the first time in history, the driver from Malaysia is racing in the Ero Pc F1 is Quil Pavlakovic. is out of the session. You can see a little bit of struggling with ABS without actually using it. Quill out of the session. It's currently 6th, so it's not that bad for the driver who can go from last to 3rd in proper races. As the McLaren driver goes carefully throughout all of the corners. In the wet conditions, it's not about pushing the limits. It's more about keeping the car in one place in order to at least complete a lap. It may be a 10th slower, but saved than risking it all to get yourself into the wall, to hit the wall. As Furkan Imchas is likely to get into 26, as Duco Moraes now gets a provisional pole. Luke Mills with a 5th place, so that is decent as well. Harrington, on the meantime, on the 6th. As Furkan Imchas uses the 5th gear to go through the final chicane. Around Circuit de Catalunya, crossing the line, and we'll see what's the lap time from the McLaren driver. That is 26.6, at least closer to the rest of the competition. Tony Ritchie now goes fastest, 24.7. So that is for the first time. Well, this is the first time when we see 24s in this qualifying session, and it is from the Ero Pc F1 champion. Marvin Moore is onto the session as well, so we'll have 18 drivers on the grid today. As Ryan Gropp is probably solving his technical issues as well. I had, to be honest, just to look onto the PCF1 chat if anything is happening. Both Aston Martins. Well, Marco Dordevic, I believe he has no fuel, that is true. His teammate for today's race, actually a full-time driver, Fraser Robertson, as Carl Vienck unfortunately cannot race today. As I believe one of the drivers, sorry, not Marvin, but Ryan or Arian, have joined the session. As Fraser Robertson nearly spins around, goes onto the grass, has to cut the track massively, peacefully go to the pit lane. Thankfully with no damage, no time for mechanics to waste repairing the car, as Hugo Nilsson is definitely spun around. As his teammate Luke Mills is going through. Remember their misunderstanding from Bahrain. Was it the greatest moment in the history of Red Bull? As Luke Mills has run out of fuel. So I don't know what he was doing while staying on track. He also has an Alpine right behind him, so we'll see if he lets him pass, unlike Marvin in Japan, who has to serve his qualifying ban for today as well, letting these drivers pass though. As Drake Dempsey and Jonathan Foss already got new tires for the qualifying session. If you read the Instagram post, you may remember Jonathan Foss having a decent record with this track. 3rd place in Season 7, behind only Drake Dempsey and Tony Ritchie. Season 8, 4th, where these two have to also add Cameron Dowds. Just behind the esports level drivers. So can the history repeat again? Well, it's likely. Jonathan was currently on his outlap, so we don't really need to follow him at the moment. However, Ferry Wagner is also not pushing. Looking for drivers who are actually going for their laps, as Marvin Moore stays in the garage as intended, with starting on the back of the grid. McGinty currently on the 8th place, just 2 milliseconds behind Quill Pavlakovic, who will not make any more laps in this session. Also wondering how many minutes there are left. It's only 5 minutes left in this qualifying, so the time is running. As you can see, Tony Ritchie is already with a new set of inters, going for an outlap and maybe even a better lap time, as the rain seems even lighter, if I'm completely honest, at this moment. Drake Dempsey currently goes through Sector 2. This corner, for example, yesterday has seen on the crossplate here the overtake of Eric Jemanchuk made on Samulski, which was... Well, actually, I watched that race for a moment, and I watched that moment. It was actually a really cool overtake. Probably will be available to watch on TikTok pretty soon, or maybe on the YouTube Shorts once I actually get to making it, as Drake Dempsey is currently 2 tenths up on his lap time, placing himself on the 2nd place. Tony Ritchie, well, even though he's on Sector 3, the game displays that he's already on a hot lap, but it's not really true. Drake Dempsey, for the final couple of corners, The chicane that gets removed in 2023, most likely. I'm saying most likely because it isn't 100% sure, unless someone can correct me in the chat. Drake Dempsey crosses the line, and that will be a 24 definitely. It is a 24, it's 12 milliseconds ahead of Tony Ritchie, who's starting his lap now. So I believe Drake might go for even more like a rest lap, where he saves up his ERS, then push again. Because 12 milliseconds, well, it might not be enough. You can see he's already on the third gear, so probably not looking into making this lap any better and saving every single bit of power for the next one. The Red Bull in Sector 2 is Luke Mills. Arjan Bilbas in the meantime got into the 5th. Where's Diogo Moraes? He's currently on the Sector 3, improving himself by 10 milliseconds. So that is very, very close between these three drivers, to say the least, who are just on another level today. As Diogo Moraes unfortunately spins, beautiful 360 from the Williams driver, so he can recover on track very swiftly and make yet another lap. How about Tony Ritchie? Nearly 2 turns up. That, with 4 turns up on his lap time at the moment, can mean he's taking this pole away from Drake. It all depends on Sector 3. Probably there were some problems with the Sector 2 lap time, as he's going really, really smoothly throughout all of the corners, not even reducing his gear to 3rd, knowing this game's handling system. It's the final corner, it's the final straight, it's the main straight for Tony Ritchie, 24.2 already! And that's provisional pole position with 2 minutes left in this session. Jonathan Voss meanwhile goes 3rd with 25.0. Diogo Moraes saves his ERS for the final round of this qualifying. Ferry Wegener 5th in the meantime. Luke Mills starts his lap. Ryan Gropp currently on the 5th, but 8th, sorry. But I believe he might be going for something better right now. As Jack Harrington is currently on the final sector with Maciej Lutiński, his teammate for today, as Julio Figueira cannot race into this competition. As Fraser Robertson goes with the 6th place, so that is another great result for the Aston Martins in the qualifying, as Jack Harrington unfortunately runs on the curb, on the social curb, and invalidates. Is he going for another lap? It's going to be invalidated, I believe, but he could have gone for position number 5 or 6 at least with this run. Furkanem just carefully throughout Sector 2. Where are the top drivers? Tony Ritchie goes slowly, probably, for waiting for the final run. Where's Drake Dempsey? Probably been blocked, 9 seconds off. Waiting for one final lap in this qualifying session. Well, the wet qualifying sessions actually can be pretty exciting, as every driver goes for a couple of laps in the meantime and you have to follow them all if you don't want to get lost and miss out on anything, as Diogo Moraes goes for the final corner and will start his another run. Luke Mills goes for the 4th place, around 14 milliseconds ahead of Diogo Moraes, so that is really, really close. You can see only Tony Ritchie is like half a second ahead. He's about to start his final run now. He lets the Red Bull pass, probably will let the Aston Martin pass as well, stops on track to do so. Warming up his tires, sliding around a little bit, but will go on as of now. That is Jonathan Voss, who spun around on the final corner. So he will not improve. Drake Dempsey nearly invalidating his run, being 1/10 up on his lap time, so he might go for 24.2 as well, maybe even better. As Tony Ritchie is on the final lap of his qualifying, definitely, like everyone, as the time is going to be up now. Yeah, Ryan Gropp made the 25.074 in his final run. Probably that is a final run, because he still got one more chance. But there is some bit of a chaos around the turns 1 and 2 where Ryan is. How about Tony Ritchie? He's currently going smoothly, even though he missed on the curb a little bit. As Drake Dempsey is currently 2 tenths up from his lap time. Not enough to get a pole position. But remember, Sector 3 is key here. It's basically one big complex of corners with little to no straights. Actually, this is the only straight on this entire sector. Drake Dempsey for the final 2 corners of the lap. Can he get the provisional pole position at least? Diogo Moraes goes second, 24.4. So you can see, that is really, really close qualifying. Drake Dempsey goes 24.3, and that is not enough to secure the first place on the grid. Tony Ritchie will probably show his powers of Season 8 Championship and his speed throughout the last couple of corners to get that pole position, to secure it apparently, as more and more drivers are crossing the line. Behind Richa, we've got Jonathan Foss, who's going to the pit lane. Tony Richa will not improve. Ryan Grob has invalidated him, just retired. Is actually Fraser Robertson going to make a lap? No, he's not. So I believe this qualifying session might as well not be over, with Harrington going for position number 5. Probably the best qualifying session for the Mercedes driver. As Robertson goes into the pit lane. That is the end of the qualifying. The gaps might be big, sort of, with 2 seconds between Riche and Imchas. But all in all, that was exciting qualifying session, if I'm completely honest with you all. As Tony Riche goes on pole position again, even though most of you have said Drake Dempsey will win today's race. Well, only 55 milliseconds of a gap. So that is possible. Then we've got Moraes, Mills, Harrington, Foss, Grob, Wagner, McGinty, Nilsson, Bilbas, Robertson, Caballero, Pavlakovic, Georgievich, Lutinsky, Imchas, and Marvin Moore, who will start last due to his qualifying ban. That is the end of today's qualifying. And having like 2 minutes, we should be going for a main race. As I hope you all have clicked that like button under the stream. As drivers are actually not sure if this is going to be a dry or wet race. It is going to be a dry race at least. This will happen. As I believe drivers used the dry setups for the qualifying. As we are seconds away from starting the race. I wonder what the strategies are going to be with the wet qualifying and dry race. As the timer is up and we are having no formation lap, so it's going to be lights out and away we go. Right now, Tony Riche with a decent start on Drake Dempsey. However, I believe Drogo Moraes has got an even better run. Not like Luke Mills, who's going for a lead of this race. He's on the free wide situation with him and Drake and Tony Riche. There's a contact between these top two drivers, both going off track, both having to take the runoff area. But Tony Riche is on the lead of the Grand Prix. I believe Drake is 100% reporting that. Now he's under pressure from Luke Mills into turn 4. Tony Riche gives back the place and will also lose to Luke Mills as well. He's side by side with the senior Red Bull driver, and Luke Mills goes for the second. What a start from the Red Bull driver. Well, capitalizing on his great qualifying run. As Luke Mills secures his second place at the moment, ahead of Tony Riche, who's on the hard tires. I believe he might also have wing damage, Tony Riche, as he's going that slow. There's Jack Harrington going onto the gravel and dropping all of the places. I don't know what happened there, as Luke Mills is side by side with Drake Dempsey for the lead of the Grand Prix. What a sensational drive from the Red Bull driver. Well, we cannot miss out on that one, as he's putting Drake Dempsey himself under pressure. Well, let's see about that, as the Red Bull driver, the man who's got guaranteed seat barely in Season 8. I mean, actually not barely, as he was 40 points ahead, but it was like 7th place, just ahead of the Alfa Romeo driver. As Drake Dempsey is on the lead of the Grand Prix. Is Luke Mills going to try and take that lead of the race? As Drake tried on Tony Riche, dropped all the way to 4th now. With a disaster of a start. Is Marvin Moore also with a great run in the first lap, going 10th from the last place in qualifying ban. That was a bit of an action for the lap 1 in Spain, as Tony Riche, sorry, not Tony Riche, but Luke Mills still puts Drake under pressure, even though he's going a little bit wide throughout this corner. We know he might not be the esports space, but he's showing the esports space right now with this start of the race, and I believe he might be going for the lead of the Grand Prix. You can see how close he is to Drake. Or is Drake actually trying to keep Luke behind him and then maybe go away to have him as a life support? I don't know. Against Tony Riche. But that was actionable start. That was the actionable 1.5 laps already around Circuit de Catalunya. All the fans of the stands, as you can see, are cheering Luke Mills, I believe, with the start that he's got. Jonathan Voss unfortunately spins round and will lose loads and loads of places. Probably will be behind Quil Pawlakovic. He's going to be ahead of the Williams drivers off now. I wonder if he has wing damage. Now Luke Mills, not the greatest exit from the final chicane. Only one driver has had to go to the pit lane due to his damage, but we have seen Jack Harrington going onto the gravel. Luke Mills 3/10 behind Drake, gaining on him a little bit on the straight. It's like 1/4 of a second behind, and he keeps himself behind the race leader. That is actually really, really close between these two drivers. Marvin Moore this time spins round for whatever reason. Rejoins on position number 16, just ahead of Marko Dordovic, who you might know from PCF2 racing, and he was there in season 8. Marko Dordovic also returns from to PCF1 racing after, well, a disaster of Britain, where we could see him driving, his AI actually driving to the pit lane wall in British Grand Prix. But all in all, Dordovic is a very decent driver, showing that this season and the last season of PCF2, as well as Luke Mills. Still behind Drake, but gets the purple sector too, so he might be going for a move on the main straight of the race of Circuit de Catalunya. And the sector 3, you have to keep close behind him in order to make that move. Ryan Grob currently on the third, watching the situation and waiting for something to happen. Is Luke Mills going for a lead of the Grand Prix? This might be the best performance, the best 3 laps of his recent career at least already. He's having the DRS on Drake Dempsey, and he's using a bit of ERS. Drake is burning it as well, so I believe the overtake might not happen now, unless, well, Luke Mills will go for a move around the outside, but has to back out of it, unfortunately, for the Red Bull driver. Great first laps already, as there is a couple of spins in turn 1. That is Caballero and Nelson. More disaster for these two drivers, unfortunately. At least Nelson got his point back from the Japanese Grand Prix. But, well, is it really enough of a payback for what happened right now? Jack Harrington with the fast stop of the Grand Prix, probably reclaiming that gap and recovering from the disaster of lap 1, which he got specifically in this corner. As Luke Mills currently with DRS again, probably will keep himself right behind the Alfa Romeo, who has plenty more ERS than the man on medium tires. Marvin Moore is out of the session already, so I believe that might be a safety car. That is on turn 9. We'll see if it's going to happen. I don't think so, unfortunately. At least that is unfortunately for the medium runners. Actually, hard runners, because they would have to go into medium tires if they want to risk it all. But I don't think the mediums would survive 28 laps of racing. As Luke Mills again having DRS on Drake. Again being closer and closer and closer, but I don't think he's going for a move now. He will probably save a bit of ERS. Try to stay within Drake, within a second from Drake. Going on the sausage curbs, unfortunately losing there a little bit of time. As the PCF2 drivers are fighting in the background. That is Imchas and Dordovic making moves. Harrington spins around, and I believe that is the end of the race for Mercedes driver, unless he wants to prove us wrong. Maybe there will be a safety car and he will have a chance to recover, but he's already half a lap down. Looking for the fight in all the parts of the grid. We might also look at Nelson versus Caballero. Actually, I don't think so, considering who goes on the hard tires and the other who goes on the medium tires. And also missing the turn 6 really badly, unfortunately for all the Red Bull drivers. Red Bull are having mixed feelings about these Grand Prix so far, as we're 5 laps in, and Luke Mills chases down Drake Dempsey and Hugo Nilsson. Barely can keep himself within DRS of Hugo Caballero, who is also out of DRS. The gaps are forming a little bit as the top 7 drivers actually get away from McGinty and Jonathan Voss, so this is where we might see a move soon. But now the question is Luke Mills going to attack now? He's 6 tenths behind. I don't think the move is happening right now, especially considering the fact that he's not using ERS anymore. Just will get closer to the Alfa Romeo, very, very close from that perspective. Nothing happened then, fortunately. It's now Ryan Grob is, you can see, having the same gap to Mills that Mills has to Dempsey. Tonrich and Diogo currently just sitting on the 4th and 5th. Same applies for Wagner and Arian Bilbas. Are not looking to make any moves yet. Just wait for the situation to be more favorable to them, and actually having more likely to overtake. They are just waiting for that opportunity. McQuist also probably waits for that opportunity, as he's currently 6 tenths behind already. Do we think his chance was already on lap 4? I might think so. However, we'll see about that this lap. If it gets closer now, there will be yet another chance. Jack Harrington spins again in the background. As we can also see that Janton Foss and McGinty are getting away from the rest of the DRS train that has already been separated a little bit. From Robertson to Imchas, that is. As Diogo Moraes is a bit closer to Tony Richey than Mills is to Dempsey. However, none of the moves are happening, and the only one I thought will happen actually happened. That is Janton Foss. He is now cleaner ahead of him. Lucas McGinty has been overtaken. The PCF2 championship leader is now on the 9th place instead of 8th. Janton Foss is going to capitalize on the fresh air and possibly try to make a move. Maybe not a move on Arian Bilbas, but at least to get within the RS of him. And then we'll see what the Ferrari strategies are going to do on the next couple of laps. Because let's see the tires though. As Arian Bilbas is the hard runner, same applies for Jonathan. We didn't see the strategies though, as that would be only Wagner and Mills in the top, racing on the mediums. Unfortunately, despite the great lap 1, Marvin Moore is already out of the session. Just on lap 3. Well, not causing a safety car to say the least. Most of the drivers, you can see a lot of drivers getting like 2 places, 3 places. Not just one. Only McGinty actually is on his original starting position. Now the question is, look, Mills, can he get closer to Drake now? He's half a second behind. He's using DRS. He's 4 tenths behind, 3 tenths behind. That will not be the chance to make a move, but it will be the chance to get close enough in order to think of a move on the next laps of the Grand Prix. The man who's got only 1 point for the fastest lap throughout the first 2 races is now having a major chance to get like 18 to say the least with what he's doing right now. As there is yellow flags, that is the other Red Bull of Hugo Nilsson. Disaster for the second Red Bull driver, unfortunately, today so far. Maybe the tire strategies later on will mix the things up a little bit. However, Luke Mills has nearly run out of ERS, whilst Drake has it all. So that is the key information regarding overtake. Drake might just use it all whenever Luke Mills appears close on the DRS straight. As he's now, we can see barely within DRS, 7 tenths of a second behind. He's using DRS and a bit of ERS, but it will just make him get a little bit closer to Drake. Not enough for an overtake though. However, the performance for the Red Bull driver is just massive. It's 9 laps already. He's still on the second. He still keeps Ryan Gropp, Tony Richey, and Diogo Moraes behind him. As Janton was gonna get rid of McGinty getting DRS from him at the moment. And the gap between him and Bilbas is not decreasing at all. In fact, it might even increase as of now, or maybe just decrease by a tenth of a second, if it actually happened. At least the gap between these two and Fraser Robertson keeps increasing. Will Pawlakowicz cannot make a move just yet on the Aston Martin driver, even though he knows the time is ticking. It's not maybe for the hard runners, but still. He could capitalize the pressure, I believe, Kul Pawlakowicz, as there was a spin of Hugo Nilsson yet again. Looks like the only point he might get today is for the fastest lap. If he keeps going like so. Luke Mills, not officially out of DRS, but The gap is already over a second, so I believe Drake may be going for increasing the gap as Ryan Kropp makes a move on Luke Mills, and this time he is leading this chasing down Drake group. The group that chases Drake down. Well, they only lost on it, to be honest. It's 1.0 seconds now. But I believe Ryan Kropp is going to get the most he can, as he's already having purple sector 1. But remember, there was a bit of an advantage called DRS. He's already less than a second behind Drake. So the medium tires of Luke Mills are already wearing out. And maybe he's got a massive error for the final couple of corners we didn't see. Arjan Bilbas is also likely to get out of this DRS and be disconnected from the top 6. As Ryan Kropp did has DRS, so he regained on it. So at the end of the day, he regained what he lost during the overtake on Luke Mills. As the McLaren driver chases down the Alfa Romeo through the final couple of corners. Well, let's see the gap. It's 7 tenths. It's going to be 8.5 tenths. That is less than Luke Mills had by 3 tenths of a second. Is Ryan Kropp going to use any of his ERS energy? No, as of now. Probably knowing Drake has got loads of it. The last time Ryan Kropp actually won a race was in season 6 with Bahrain and Spanish Grand Prix, that was. At least this is as far as my memory goes. Season 8, he got a couple of podiums. Enough for like 5th place in the championship. Very Wagner spun. From position number 7, he goes all the way down to 9th and may also go even lower in the standings, as he has now Fraser Robertson right behind him, letting the Aston Martin pass. That's a disaster for the Alfa Romeo. Drake's teammate will also doing the same that Red Bull has, copying the situation from the dark blue team. One of the Alfa Romeos is having fantastic race, the other one, it's another spin, and that is Arjan Bilbas with wing damage, calling out a full safety car for that. On lap 11 of the race, Arjan Bilbas spins round, breaks his front wing entirely, will rejoin on the 10th place as Kul Pavlaka, which was clearly letting him pass, but that is the second full safety car of this season. Now Drake Dempsey, oh, he has a dilemma if he should go for the medium tires. And he's going for it. How about Ryan Kropp? He pits as well. Mills pits as well. Tony Ritchie into the pit lane as well. The same applies for Diogo Moraes. Jonathan Foss barely makes it. McGuinty, I think he might have crossed the line on the pit entry by a very minor degree. Robertson pits, Wagner pits, Balbas has to pit and is out of the Grand Prix. And he's done what Liam Cross nearly has done. And PSF2 Tia not making it to the pit lane, spinning ground with damage front wing. That is also the race saved essentially for Alexa Franklin and Nilsson. Arjan Bilbas giving us a full safety car and the second DNF of the race. As the order actually changes, Tony Ritchie loses places on this pit stop. Losing to, or not on, he was already 4th behind Luke Mills, but he also lost to Foss and Moraes. But Arjan Bilbas, well, what do you think of that? I mean, it definitely wasn't our purpose, but really weird that he didn't make it actually. Unfortunate for the Ferrari driver, who's having a disaster of season 9 at the moment. Easily outscored by Jonathan Foss at the moment. Got 6th and 7th, and Arjan Bilbas was 9th and 9th. Now he's DNF'd. As the Aston Martin safety car is already out on track. Also, by the way, as there will be a little bit of a pause menu, I'm actually happy to ask all of the people on the chat, viewers in the chat, if the audio quality is alright, because I know the visual quality is fine. 60 frames per second, one full HD, sorry, full HD quality. Well, it's all fine from that side. But how about the other quality itself? That's the question here on the chat, as Tony Richie on the medium tires, so maybe let's see what are the tire strategies as of now, as everyone has got into the pits at least once, and Jack Hamilton has got twice. So the only hard runners are Luke Mills, Ferry Wagner, Maciej Lutyński, and Jack Hamilton, who's just rejoining the queue of the drivers. Well, we remember what happened with Drake Dempsey back in Season 8 here in Spanish Grand Prix. During the safety car restart, as he spun round on the final corner during the restart and caused a major wing damage to Evan Curtin that led him to disconnecting from the session and then getting banned from the league for rage quitting for the server. I'm completely honest with you all. Well, the server, I meant Discord, of course. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. As the action around here is actually really entertaining throughout the Spanish Grand Prix. Well, Spanish Grand Prix may be associated with snooze fests. That's what it's called, like races that just go like the driver who is on the first wins on the second. But Spanish Grand Prix can actually be interesting. Examples of 2021 with tire strategies of Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, and Lewis Hamilton going for the mediums, and repeating Hungary 2019 by overtaking Max in like 6 laps to go, or even this race in particular, which already has seen Luke Mills challenging the leader of the race, Drake Dempsey, who's about to restart the Spanish Grand Prix of Ero Pc F1, and will he have to use all of his ERS now? Because we remember throughout the first stint he's got like 80%, 85% of ERS during when the safety car was called out, as drivers are warming up tires. Diogo Moraes puts Luke Mills under pressure, but decides not to make any overtakes, as Luke Mills probably has a bit of a straight line speed setup for this track, and that secures his third position at the moment. Sensational drive so far from Luke Mills on the hard tires, but he has Diogo Moraes right behind him, appearing on the right side. They are now side by side nearly into turn 4, and that should be Williams making a move successful on the Red Bull driver. Luke Mills is currently lost to Diogo Moraes in the 4th place. Now he's under pressure from Jonathan Foss as well, also on the medium tires. I believe the medium runners may overtake Luke Mills now, but the one who laughs the last is laughing the longest. So what I meant was the tire strategies that the drivers have. It's like 22 laps to survive on this medium, so this might be doable, but we'll see about that during the later stages of the races. Jonathan Foss goes for a move on the inside of Luke Mills, and that is a position lost for the Red Bull driver. Even though he's trying to fight back, he will not, and he will stay on the 5th place, as Luke Mills will probably also lose a place to Tony Richard. You can see how close he is. The AlphaTauri driver, the Season 8 champion, sensationally making a move from Red Bull to AlphaTauri in the last moment, when we weren't sure if he was going to race actually full-time in Season 9. Well, he's racing here, but in the junior team, as now he's overtaking the senior one. Side by side with Luke Mills, he should use a little bit more of ERS to complete the move. He's going down the inside to turn 1, makes it stick, and on the 5th place. Well, one of the winners of this entire thing is Lucas McGuinty, who's got... Oh, he spun around Luke Mills! That is disaster for both of these drivers. Lucas McGuinty has got a great speed throughout turn 3 and didn't probably expect Luke Mills to go a bit slower at least. And that is disaster for the Red Bull, who's going for best performance of his ERO career, at least recently. Unfortunate disaster for the Luke Mills. That is a heartbreak for the Red Bull, double heartbreak for the Austrian team. That is unfortunately on the 2 final places, if you consider that Harrington is ahead of Luke Nilsson. Well, that is 3rd, last and last. Now we are switching to Ryan Kropp, who's keeping himself right behind Drake. He now has still way less ERS than Drake, because it's like the 6th part of the ERS that he has got less than the Alfa Romeo. However, DRS will be enabled this lap, not on this DRS zone, not this DRS stage, but on the next. Ryan Grob will be able to use the assist of the drag reduction system, and maybe, just maybe, try and make a move on Drake Dempsey into turn 1, because I don't believe it's going to happen into turn 9. However, he's getting closer and closer to Alfa Romeo driver, so he might go for a lead of the race, at least for a little bit of a moment on this Grand Prix. And also I'm wondering if Luke Bills after this car break is going to rise up like Phoenix from the ashes and actually at least get closer and regain those 4 seconds he now loses with Jack Hamilton, because it's doable, to be pretty honest. The top 5 drivers have gone already by 3 seconds from the rest. So there's a big chance that Ryan Grob is using DRS but not using any of the ERS. Not thinking of move just yet. On Richie with a purple sector 2. Really quick lap times, but unable to make a move throughout this train. Even though he's looking for any of the switchback moves throughout all of the corners, he's now going onto the sausage curve. May even lose DRS and don't think so. However, that was a close situation. Hugo Nilsson, another Red Bull disaster with a spin. As Ryan Grob goes for the lead of the Grand Prix, he's actually making a move on the Alfa Romeo driver and is the new leader of this race. We've already seen Tony leading this Grand Prix, then Drake after lap 1 controversy, and now we're having Ryan Grob, the new leader of the Grand Prix. He's done something Luke Mills couldn't do, and he's trying now to escape from the rest of the field. And adding on top of that, Diego Moraes puts Drake Dempsey under pressure. Remember the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, the first race, where these two raced together in the same session in PC F1 tier. Actually, in general, because in Season 6 of F1, when Drake was still on PlayStation, they never raced each other. Diego Moraes got made his debut on Mexican Grand Prix when Drake was unfortunately already on PC, giving the championship to Guilherme Darunia in Season 6, giving up the thing, and chasing the F1 esports, potentially, I guess. Well, knowing that these eliminations or the qualifiers for the esports Challengers series, we've already seen Ariane Lepenru and Jensen Randall from PlayStation doing really decent results. Lepenru being like 3rd Season 8 champion on PlayStation. So this is where the pace actually is. And I have high hopes for Ariane when it comes to F1 esports in the future, because he's got that pace. Same applies for Drake, Ryan, Diogo. But there's a couple of drivers with esports potential to say the least. However, we'll go back for the back of the field right now, as Maciej Lutiński will make a move on Furkan Imchas, and Marko Dordevich will make a move as well. So there's 2 positions lost for the McLaren at once. Well, all of the teams are not having the best days at the moment, as one of the drivers is doing great, the second one is providing a pure disaster at the moment, or both drivers actually out of form, which may be shown by the example of Red Bull. For example, even Aston Martin has Robertson on the 6th place. There is a contact between Imchas and Caballero, as these two have spun around. Thankfully, both recovered. Luke Mills at least isn't last anymore. Now, is it the time when Marko Dordevich will try to fight Lutiński, as McIntyre already made a move on Fraser Robertson, as the other Aston didn't make an overtake. Let's go back to the group of the top 5 drivers, as they all have gone already by 4 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. Grob, Dempsey, Moraes, Foss, Richie. Well, Foss proving again he likes the Circuit de Catalunya, as he's also the star of the tumbler of today's race. And, well, it looks like a bit of an additional power to him. Tony Richie got 4th in his first race, and that was quite unlucky, with a bit of a penalty he's got. 5 seconds for push to pass on Kul Pavlakovic. Then we've got Kul Caballero, DNF, and now Anton Foss is actually going 4th, so he might undo the bad luck for the thumbnail star in this race. Drake Dempsey under pressure from Diego Moraes though. Even though he's got nearly all of ERS, Ryan Grob is the only one that actually uses it in the top 3, because we remember that Anton has got half of ERS, Tony Richie has got 30% of ERS. How about Diego Moraes? As he's just going to keep himself behind Drake. How about Tony Richie stays on 5th? Everyone here is on the medium tire, so It's all about saving the compound now. Maybe for the final laps, where we will see more moves as time will be ticking. It's already ticking. It's 14 laps to go in the Spanish Grand Prix. It's lap 20 of this race. Ryan Gropp with a chance to win for the first time since season 6. As Drake Dempsey stays right behind him. Not making a move though. Quill Pawlakovic overtakes Ferry Wagner for position number 8 and now will chase down Fraser Roberts. Nultiski probably lets Harrington pass. Now he has nobody to worry about behind him as Hugo Caballero is over 4 seconds behind the Polish driver. And the only Polish driver on the grid today, as Fianuk, Niemczyk and Dorocki all had to miss the race, unfortunately. Ryan Gropp on the lead of the Grand Prix. He has got half of ERS. He knows how to save energy though. You can see, well, unlike Luke Mills, who's got like 20% when there was a safety car. You can see that there is like 3 groups of drivers as of now. That is of course the top 5, but we've also got positions number 6 to 9 being very, very close to each other. And then there's Dordevic and both Mercedes drivers. Actually, Dordevic with this pace, he may having a chance to get a point as Drake Dempsey getting close on Ryan Gropp. But that was really, really close from Diogo Moraes. Couple more centimeters and that would end up in tears for both of these drivers, at least Drake Dempsey. But Diogo looks like kind of impatient. He wants to make a move. He doesn't want to wait for lap like 31, 32 in order to make a lap, in order to make a move on the Alfa Romeo driver. He wants to make it now, possibly. We could see how close he was. That was proven into turn 4. Is he planning on making a move on Drake? That would open a big chance for Ryan Gropp to maybe think of a race win at the end of the day. That would be first one in his career since season 6, of course, we have to remember. The first one since the return in season 8. That would be the better warning, to be completely honest. As Diogo Moraes saying that Drake slides a bit on the exit of turn 11 on this hairpin. May think there is a chance. The PS F1 season 7 champion. Will he make a move on Drake Dempsey? Ryan Gropp hews about a bit. Drake is getting closer to the McLaren driver. Diogo Moraes is using all of his ERS. Drake Dempsey will probably go for a gap down the inside. No, that is way too close. Diogo Moraes was just having a half look. That was way too far, sorry. As we can see how close Diogo Moraes is. That will be definitely a fight between these two. Ryan Gropp has to escape as much as he can if he wants to win this race. Diogo Moraes still having a look on the inside, but now is the chance. There's plenty of chances to make a move in Circuit de Catalunya. Not here though, as we'll be having another DRS zone on the exit of turn 9 that will begin and will finish on the entry of turn 10. Is it a chance for Diogo Moraes? Because, well, he's used a bit of ERS. Drake Dempsey has the most to play with, 70% that is. Looking at all the drivers, Stolnich is the only one with no ERS at all. Harrington makes a move on Marko Dordevic, who spun round, unfortunately, in turn 8 on the exit of it, but came back on position number 12. If he doesn't have any wing damage, it's still a chance for him to make it into the points. I believe he's got wing damage because he's now gone wide and Caballero has made a move on him. But back into the leaders, Drake Dempsey getting closer and closer and closer and closer to Ryan Gropp, but not close enough to even think of a move. Diogo Moraes doesn't even waste any of his ERS because he knows that Drake is not going to make the move anyway. Drake, unless on the DRS straight, already loses like half a second to Ryan Gropp. There's a little bit less slipstream, but also a little bit less of dirty air going on here. Even though dirty air is not really a big thing, it's still a thing at Formula 1 games, but it's not a big thing. In order to provide more racing, apparently, probably. As Diego Moraes just returns behind Drake. Now into the second DRS zone. We remember Drake being second in both of the first races of the season. Is it the other one? Is it yet another one? Where we see Drake standing at the second step on the podium. But this time he'll actually be a championship leader. As Tony Ricci is on the 5th place, and the gap between these two is currently 1 point. But you also have to include lap 1 controversy of the start, where Tony has gone from 1st to 5th. DRS zone again, lap 24, 10 to go. We're getting closer and closer to the finish line. The top 5 having a really big gap. McGinty proving himself to be PC F1 worthy, at least getting noted by the teams. And the pinnacle of Ero League racing on PC. Actually, League racing in general. Anyway, continuing. McGinty already 1.5 seconds ahead of Fraser Robertson. Let's see his tires though. He has on medium tires. He might be also under investigation of the incident with him and Luke Mills being involved. However, this is the time where hard runners may actually start gaining a little bit. With the tires being 10 laps old, or maybe even 13 laps old, let me see. That is 12 laps of medium tires for nearly everyone. I believe this is the chance for the hard runners now to start gaining, because the tire is like 40%, I believe, 30. At least 30. 3% per lap, 36%. It comes down to tire management now. Tony Ricci very, very close on Jonathan Foss, so we may be expecting a move into the 4th place from the Season 8 champion. However, not when you lack ERS. Jonathan Foss at least got a bit to play with, but it's for 1 move. Ryan Grubb still on the position number 1. Well, as we said, for the first time since Season 6, and that was in Spain, as Jonathan Foss fights Diogo Moraes for position number 3. That is quite unexpected to see right now, when we could see Diogo Moraes just fighting with Drake a couple laps ago, and now Jonathan Foss is losing the place, going back onto 4th. Now he fights Tony Ricci into turn 7 and 8, this famous chicane, having controversy in Season 8, at least in PSF1. Jonathan Foss loses another place. That is the place lost to Tony Ricci, now the top 4. Well, Tony Ricci is still not a championship leader. However, he's getting this gap a little bit smaller. Now he has to overtake Diogo Moraes. We remember that Tony Ricci has a pole position point, which is a rule in the Ero since day 1. If anyone is not aware, you can get a point for getting pole position to the race. You have just to finish it. Tony Ricci goes to the pit lane though. So this might have been a wing damage for the AlphaTauri driver. What is going on with the Season 8 champion? We'll see about that within seconds. Is it a tire or is it wing damage? He's going to rejoin behind Lutinsky at least. It is not the wing damage. He's going for the soft tires, probably for the fast lap of the Grand Prix. At least. But he's going to rejoin on position number 12. Or even 13 behind Luke Mills. That is one of the most surprising decisions I've ever seen. Tony Ricci is chilling in the DRS zone, just making a move on Jonathan Foss, and now he's behind Luke Mills on the position number 13. Does Tony Ricci know something that we don't? That is one of the most interesting questions as of now, as the other fight is going between Pawlakowicz and Ferry Wagner. I believe the hard tires are definitely gaining now. Is any of the top 4 going to get into the soft tires? I'm wondering. But definitely, what we know is that Ferry Wagner nearly spun around and nearly lost DRS on Pawlakowicz. The action is getting more and more tense around here. As we see Tony Ricci about to make a move on Luke Mills into turn 10. What a dive round the outside! As Diogo Moraes unfortunately spins round, but we're watching the fight between these two drivers. The championship winner of Season 8 makes a successful move, but this late launch was definitely something worth watching. Diogo Moraes, did you get a puncture? Now this is the question, or did you just spin round and didn't make it into the pit lane? He's going to the pits. He's picking on soft tires as well. These drivers definitely have more than 60% of tire wear, if anyone can tell me in the chat, because this is actually really interesting action around here. Jordan Foss, despite being out of the DRS, may as well get back into the podium after losing a place when fighting the Gomaraish to Tony Ritchie. Lucas McGinty with also a great performance of 4th place. Fraser Robertson 5th. A couple of unexpected results around here. Marko Durdevich unfortunately retires in the pit lane, so this will not call out a full safety car or any sort of full course yellow. As the other Aston Martin driver going for the best result of probably his Ero career entirely. Let's watch on Tony Ritchie, who's already been let go by Hugo Caballero. Fastest Sector 2 by the AlphaTauri driver. Chasing down Maciej Lutiński, who's got 8th place. And Season 8 of PlayStation F1 tier. Now, going really quickly through all these corners. Now Lucas McGinty has to watch out for Marcos AI, as Maciej Lutiński probably not going to make any trouble. Tony Ritchie with an obvious fastest up of this Grand Prix on the soft tires. Where's Diogo Moraes? He's currently on position number 12, overtaking Hugo Caballero, who's got out of the pit lane. Now, these 3 drivers had to watch out for Marko Durdevich. Same as one of the Mercedes. What is this AI doing? I'm still wondering. As we're watching Tony Ritchie, no troubles. Lutiński, no troubles. And Luke Mills is not going to have any trouble at all. The tire strategy mess is taking over around Circuit de Catalunya. The entire Spain is already watching, the entire world. May as well just wonder if these medium tires of the top 3, actually top 6 drivers are going to survive. Because Ritchie and Moraes already have gone to the soft, so may as well fight for the fastest lap. Hugo Milson will be lapped now, as Greg Dempsey, he only has to focus on making a move on Ryan Grubb for the lead of the Grand Prix and maybe even a race win. Now that is the question. Who is getting a puncture round now? Because Diogo Moraes calling out the yellow flag, that could have been as well a puncture. We're not sure. I'm not watching his point of view, to say the least, or any of the live streams from the drivers. As Greg Dempsey is very close on Ryan, but we're currently looking if Diogo Moraes is going to regain on Luke Mills, that is. He's regaining around 10 throughout 2 tenths, 3 tenths and the first couple of corners. Furkan him just into the pit lane. Probably for the first softs as well. But look also on the 5th position, number 5, as Jack Harrington has joined. As his best result was 7th place here in Hungary. Not here in Hungary, but in Hungary in Season 8, as he's quite a fresh driver still to Ero, but he may be going for the best result of his career. After a disaster of lap 1, getting in the top 5 places is a real perspective. But we have to come back onto Drake and Ryan, as this is just 4 laps remaining. Drake Dempsey will not make a move on Ryan as of now. However, he's going to keep himself very close behind the McLaren driver. Looking at Ferry Wagner, is he going to make a move on Will Pavlakovic, who's got infinite amount of ERS? Diogo Moraes will definitely make a move, and that would be on Luke Mills, who covers the inside. However, Diogo Moraes, outside line, clear, and into position number 11. Next up, Lutiński. As Anton Foss nearly spins round on these medium tires in lap 30. That is a really close fight with the tires, apparently. Not with any other driver. Now he has to survive on this medium tire compound. What's the age of these tires? 18 laps. So whilst I know that Harrington and Wagner will survive, I'm not so sure about the top 6. Ferry Wagner would have made a move a long time ago if he wasn't using ERS at every single place possible. You can see how close he's getting to Quill. So we might see a move from any of these drivers, into turn 1. As Drake Dempsey, I'm watching the gap carefully. It's 5 tenths. It's going to be 4 tenths, I believe, into turn 1, into the entry of the corner, and that is true. 3 tenths. Nearly 2 tenths. As Ferry Wagner, well, having a bit of an issues around here. But looking like to be fixed now. That's a momentary issue. Tony Richter has already joined this group, by the way. Now, this is the question. Did Tony Richter win on this tire change or lose? Because Drake is risking it all. Perry Wagner having troubles into turn 3, and he might as well spin into Tony, but he does not, thankfully. Tony will go for a move down the inside. Wagner will have enough space. And Tony is already 8th, the Season 8 champion of Ero Pc F1, on his way to maybe even go for the position number 5, because this is the realistic perspective, to be completely honest, considering no punctures. Speaking about punctures, 20 lap salt mediums. What is the tire wear now? Definitely over 60%, I believe. Imtiaz is out of the session into the pit lane. Ryan Gropp having a chance to win for the first time. He was winning the Spanish Grand Prix in Season 6 in the Alfa Romeo. Now, his former team's driver is trying to steal that win away. 19.19 as the last lap time from him. The gap is unfortunately for Drake too big to even think of a move into turn 1. As we'll see if Tony Richter will make a move on any of the drivers into turn 1. He's got 3 cars ahead of him. None of them thinking of a move. Nico Gunnarsson spins around, crashes out, but that is too late to call out a full safety car. And Tony Richter goes for a move on the inside of Jack Hickson. Will also go with Pavlakovic. Possibly. Not quite yet. He's side by side with the Mercedes driver. Very, very close. Now he's watching the chance to get into 6th place, going down the inside of Quill into position number 6 already. These medium tires are definitely wearing out now, with double move made by Tony. As the other one to follow the battle, the other battle to follow is between Ryan and Drake for the win of the race. Well, I'm wondering if we should move up to that one. However, Tony probably will make a move onto this next couple of corners as well. He's going for it around the outside, not quite enough space. Ryan Gropp lagging a little bit, unfortunately, the final lap, and that might have scared Drake, who's going for a move down the inside, definitely, because he's using all of his ERS. He's going down the inside into turn 1, as I said, and will take the lead of the Grand Prix. They are side by side through the first complex of corners. That is Ryan Gropp ahead of Drake Dempsey, but no, they're still will to will for the victory of the race. Ryan Gropp, unfortunately, having a little bit of an issue around here, but that is the move made by Drake Dempsey for the win of Spanish Grand Prix in the Ero Pc F1, but Ryan Gropp is not going to give this one up. Trying to go around the outside, having a little bit tough of a touch with Drake. Now he's sliding, definitely lost the win. And the same disaster that happened in Bahrain for Team Bayer flashes in the eyes ahead of Zach Brown and the entire McLaren team. Well, Ryan Gropp, his internet connection is getting worse and worse now, but thankfully he will make it on the 2nd place at least. Unlike his teammate on the season opener. Jonathan Foss is going to finish 3rd and step on the podium for the first time this season. And I believe we are watching the 3rd man to win an Ero Pc F1 Grand Prix, and that is going to be Drake Dempsey, who wins the Spanish Grand Prix ahead of Ryan Gropp and Jonathan Foss. That is the podium for today. Lucas Magenti, decent performance in Japan until the DNF, now completes the race on the 4th. Wow. Tony Richter 5th, so that was not a great strategy. Robertson, Pawlakovic, Harrington, Wagner, Moraes. That is the top 10. Maciej Lutiński on position number 11. And to round it up, Caballero will go carefully into the finish line. Just to finish this race. Just to at least get classified. For sure. On his home Grand Prix, he finishes last. Going to the grass a little bit. That was the action around Spain. Actually an entertaining race. as Jonathan Foss steps on the podium for the first time this season. Drake Dempsey wins for the first time this season. Ryan Gropp wins for the first time this season gets into the podium for the first time this season as well. Tony Richard, despite getting a pole position, unfortunately only 5th. However, that was a really, really great racing around Circuit de Catalunya. Was for Lucas McGinty. A great performance in PCF1. Then we've got Tony Ritchie, Marvin Moore retired, Dordovich retired, same applies for Furkan Imchas. Diogo Moraes, unfortunately, with only just 1 point to his account. Ferry Wagner, despite having lots of troubles throughout the race, finishes 9th. Jack Harrington, after being half a lap down, finishes 8th. Kyle Pawlakovic was 7th. Then we've got Robertson on 6th. Best results of his career, at least starting with season 8, because he's got couple of performances in season 7. Caballero, no points. Niemczyk couldn't race today, unfortunately. Nilsson, no points. Same applies for Luke Mills. That was the action around the Spanish Grand Prix. We'll also have a really, really short press conference around here, but that last lap overtake from Drake Dempsey, featuring a bit of a lag though. However, enough to prevail for the first time this season and get the championship lead as well. Got the fast lap, that was Tony Ritchie. So he cannot get less than 12 points per race. But he's losing 12 points to Drake now in the championship. As Tony Ritchie said, he's got wing damage, and this is why he probably pitted, and his wings weren't really changed. As I'm taking personally the top 3 drivers into the conference room, as we welcome the first time of this race, of the season, he wins the Grand Prix. That is Drake Dempsey, the winner of today's Spanish Grand Prix. Welcome.
Yeah, that was a crazy race. It's about time. I was feeling like I needed the win sometime soon. Missing out 2 weeks in a row, just barely. But here we are, finally. Just executed the strategy very nicely. Saved every single lap, almost until like the last 3, and ended without even a threat of a puncture.
What was the tie where actually? Because seeing Moraes and Ritchie both going to the pit lane, that made me quite wondering if the puncture territory was real.
It was, and I was worried about that myself. But I managed to, because I was saving every single lap, just trying to like reduce my pace by like probably half a second. I saved like enough to get 74% on my rear left, which was the worst.
Well, definitely an entertaining race. Just as a technical side, was Ryan lagging on your perspective, or was it just me?
On Ryan?
Yeah, McLaren.
Yeah, he was lagging a bit. It was kind of like, like where do I go? So I was not. It was not terrible. It was like every once in a while, especially when it was like the final lap. But before that, I didn't really see much lagging at all.
Yep, and we're getting the man into the conference room who missed out on the first victory since season 6. Well, I don't have to ask how it feels, but definitely a great performance from you, Ryan, making these moves and actually leading the race for quite a while. Unfortunately, it was all down to the last lap, but still great performance from you overall.
And yeah, I'm happy. I mean, I didn't fight for a podium for a while. Didn't do any practice really. Did like 3 sessions now before. Quali pace, as expected, with the disconnect as well, didn't help. But yeah, race pace was fine. Survived lap 1. Lap 1 was good. And then I went for the lead, and then I just led. And I could have defended harder, but you know, I just need to maximize the points for the constructors, since I didn't really have my teammate here with me today. And I think I maximized that result, especially being it being the worst out of the first 3 tracks and the best result. So yeah, I'm happy with that, even if it's not the win. P2, I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, thank you for a little bit of a speech around here. I'm wondering if we're getting Jonathan Foss around here with another great performance around Spain in the 3rd place. But all in all, that was really, really entertaining action here in Bahrain, Spain. As I think that's about it for today's Grand Prix. Make sure to watch Ero Pc F1 in 40 minutes time, commentated by Luke Jobson himself, as they will also go into Spain with no assists at all. However, that was really entertaining race in Circuit de Catalunya. Make sure to like the stream and subscribe to the channel as well, as we need to show the algorithm which league people should watch. Anyways, that's it for today. Goodbye.